I want to ask a question here, all right? So just bear with me, Frank, all right? Here's a question. So there's a story in the hockey news about LeBron James, how he's going back to Cleveland in his prime of his career. So I want to get Phil on this because he's in Tampa. The story in the hockey news is that there's some speculation, who knows how much validity there is to it, that when Steven Stamkos' contract is done after 2016, he'd be interested in playing for his hometown Maple Leafs as a free agent.
And that's started by some fucking asshole in Toronto.
Do you buy that, though? That's my question. You obviously don't buy it.
Absolutely not.
I don't buy it, no.
Okay.
If he wants to go, he'll go. But don't tell me that he's thinking that. And I do know that the Lightning are going to try to re-up him.
Oh, for sure. I mean, he'll be what, late 20s, 27, when his contract is up, the prime of his career.
Now there is one of the best players in the NHL.
Yeah, and I guess the reason why the story came out is because LeBron James at 29 is going back to Cleveland. Now, again, it's just all speculation.
Going back to Cleveland for big goots.
Right, but he's going home.
Right, and Stamkos did add fuel to the fire by retweeting it.
Going back home because they're building him a fucking castle.
No, and I understand that, but a part of the reason why this has picked up a bit of steam, guys, is because the hockey news story was retweeted by Steven Stamkos.
He tweeted?
He retweeted the story. So he saw the story, got the link, and retweeted the story.
So what does that mean? Maybe he
basically, well, that's the thing.
On James.
Maybe, well, that's it. Maybe he was saying good for LeBron. Maybe he was saying Toronto needs to have a superstar, not necessarily me.
Yeah, but you're with all due respect, you're just throwing the journalistic propaganda shit now.
Well, I wanted to ask the question because Phil is on the air with us, Frank, and he lives in Tampa, and he does work with the Lightning, and I thought, who better to ask than Phil Esposito?
Well, I'm going to tell you, that is speculation. Guys speculate all the time, especially in Toronto.
Yeah, I agree with that, Phil.
They speculate all the time. If Steven Stamkos, when the time comes, decides that that's what he wants to do and go on a free agency, well, he'll go. If it's Toronto, will he go there, or will he go to some other team that offers him more money? You're home. Let me tell you something.
I say he goes to the team that offers him the most money.
Probably
he can
right.
Go back and live in Toronto.
I agree.
Hockey is a brief scenario in life. Hockey is a brief scenario in a man's life.
He's young yet. I'm going to tell you, if he stays and plays for the Lightning, when he gets 30, 31, 32, he'll go home for a visit, but this will be his home if he's still playing here.
Yeah, and that's fair. Like I said, I just wanted to bring it up because you're with us, and you're based in the Tampa area, and you know the Lightning quite well. To me, I think the Maple Leafs are starving. We've talked about this before.
Of course they're starving. That's why everybody's going to speculate.
No, and I'm not so much saying Steven Stamkos. I think the Maple Leafs crave a local product who could be a star, whether it's a McDavid, whether it's a Stamkos, whether it's a kid who's 12 years old right now.
You're writing a story for them.
Well, no, I'm not. I'm just...
But if you're Steve Stamkos, why do you retweet that story? Why throw fuel on the fire if you don't have to?
And I think Frank mentioned it.
Maybe putting more into the retweet than it is. Maybe ask him.
LeBron James.
Tweet him. You're a big social media guy, Mr. Barsland. You're a very bright guy. Tweet him. Say, is it just because you're a fan of LeBron, or is there something deeper? Is it a deeper fucking meaning?
Right.
He's going to tell you. It's because he's a fan. And it's a nice romantic tweet.
And plus what he's saying, too, maybe by retweeting it
putting all kinds of shit in there.
No, and maybe he's also saying, and I'm just speculating, he's saying, you know what, Toronto does need a young superstar. Not necessarily me.
You know what, you guys are full of shit.
That's fair.
Right
not the first time you said that to me, Frank.
Billy,
and it won't be the last.
Do you think he retweeted it for anything but just a fucking retweet? Do you think there's any of these hypotheses and these...
Hang on, let him answer the question, Frank.
Steven Stamkos is a lot of things. He's one of the brightest young men you'll ever meet. Phil can acknowledge that. He is not going to do things like that for his own advantage. But it doesn't hurt him to retweet something that looks good on an athlete, looks good on the selfish athlete.
Absolutely, and plus it might help in renegotiation time.
And you know what else, guys? If it wasn't for all this fucking stupid social media... No, anything.
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
And now you can...
Social media is here, Phil. It's here. It's the new cable television. It's the new 8-track fucking player. It's the new pager. Social media is here. And it ain't going to fucking go anywhere. It's going to evolve into bigger and more. That's what people can trust. I was on a fucking plane, and everybody had to be fucking told 13 fucking times to shut their fucking smartphones off. Now, let's go back 15 years ago where everybody carried change in their fucking pocket. Come on.
But that's my point, guys. My point is that there's way too much information.
Yep.
And people can start bullshit. I don't tweet. I'm not on a Twitter or all that bullshit. I don't do that. I wouldn't do it. I don't want people to know where I am or what I'm thinking. I don't. And to tell you the truth,
Selling yourself as a brand, and you're going to do that. It is what it is, right? Right, Tony?
Yeah, you're right. It's a way to sell yourself. There's no doubt about it.
well, it's a way to sell yourself. You sell yourself by playing the game.
Big time, agreed.
Yeah, but it depends on what you are, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, I believe. I don't know Mr. Stamkos at all. I don't know him from Adam, but I think he just retweeted it just to retweet it.
Well,
he's a fan. He's a fan of LeBron, as many people are, and he just retweeted a tweet from somebody that he admires.
And I think Bill brings up a great point too. It makes him look good.
Absolutely.
And that certainly wouldn't.
But it doesn't. Tony, when you retweet a tweet, does it have a million fucking meanings?
It can.
Whether you
Sure
retweet it because you're supporting one of your fellow people that follow you and you follow them, right?
Yeah, sure.
Or you found it humorous. Doesn't fucking matter, right?
Sometimes I'll retweet an article written by someone because I want to get that person's attention in the hope of maybe interviewing him one day or maybe working for him or with him one day. So yeah, sometimes there are ulterior motives to my retweets.
Yeah, and it wasn't just a LeBron tweet. It wasn't just about LeBron James. This was the hockey news story that Steven Stamkos retweeted.
Camels all over the world are getting 2-for-1 drinks, and it's also Bring Camel to Work Day. I bought a camel cheap because he's got no humps. His name is Humphrey. And what the fuck does that mean? Does that mean that I want a fucking camel?
I can't read your mind, Frank. I don't know.
A fucking camel and go in the desert and fucking take a fucking ride? I was just fucking around.
Right,
but Frank, what I'm saying is this. He didn't just retweet a LeBron James tweet. That could have had a million different meanings. He retweeted this specific hockey news story that talked about him going to Toronto.
Now, we should say this. Maybe it's his account. He may not control it. He may have a friend. He may have a
manager
girlfriend.
or whatever.
He may have someone doing that.
Or a PR guy.
Yeah, and a PR person saw his name without reading the article and just retweeted it because he saw, it's a story about Steven Stamkos.
It's possible.
So that's very possible too.
Thank you.
Let's make sure we say that too.
Yourself as an integral part of journalism with integrity, which most journalistic integrity means shit.
Yeah, and so it's a trillion meanings. To me, I found it interesting because I like the concept of the Maple Leafs getting a young superstar. And it's probably only going to happen.
I can tell you, in my modest view, and I don't know if it's fact or fiction.
A local superstar.
My modest view, Tampa Bay Lightning are not going to let Stamkos go without a fight.
No argument.
And it's a great place to live. And if he stays here till he's 30, Toronto will be his home. He'll go visit it every once in a while.